There appears to be difficulty. We are now going to the gentlelady from New York. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez is now recognized.
So I sound better. It's hard for me to tell.
Okay, are we through? Are we going back to Ms. Kelly?
We're going to Ms. Ocasio-Cortez. You're now recognized.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman. Ms. Jabola Carlos, I was wondering if we could dive into a little bit a lot of the unrecognized but very real work that's been happening, especially during the pandemic, especially that's been borne by women and caregivers in general. I was wondering if you could kind of talk to us a little bit about that. What have been some of the expansions and increases in work that women have increasingly been bearing and creating and undergoing throughout the pandemic? How is it being undervalued and underrecognized? And also, how is it critical to us keeping our economy going? And I was wondering if you could kind of set the stage for us to kind of discuss about how we are not recognizing some of the critical work that's happening in our economy that's critical to its functioning.
Thank you for that question. Women are absolutely the scaffold of the economy, and mothers in particular. You know, we are born into a society that is profoundly patriarchal. And so motherhood is almost totally invisible. I didn't even notice it until it happened to me, quite frankly. And the amount of work, the grueling work that is shrouded as love is painful to experience because it is so demanding and requires so much sacrifice. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, we've seen this being put on women, and because women already make lower wages, you know, it's logical for them to be the one to take the hit and exit the workplace. I ask myself every day whether I should quit my job, and I am the executive director of the Commission on Women. So rather than throw statistics at you, I would just share what we've been hearing from our community, which is just overwhelming mental health stress from women who are taking on these burdens. The exodus from the workplace is true, even though it's being denied and cast as voluntary. And we will see the impact of this in the data shortly, I'm sure. But that is what I can share with you from Hawaii.
And first of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And one of the questions that I've kind of been asking is, how do we better recognize this work through policy, compensate for it, and do programs like Medicare for All and guaranteed childcare, healthcare, et cetera? Does this go some of the way in helping recognize this work, alleviate for it, and also, what are some real policy initiatives that we should be looking at to actually formally recognize, potentially compensate in one way or another for this kind of work, and make being a mother a realistic possibility that doesn't come at the expense of women's well-being mentally or physically in a disproportionate way?
The United States has a lot of catch up to do. There are countries around the world that provide pensions for housewives. These are the things that we should absolutely make fundamental as part of the recovery and before, right? But for me, I think, and for our plan, it was really important to go beyond just compensation. We really want equal leisure time. We want that labor to be able to be just love. We want shared responsibilities rather than it just having to be on us. So a paycheck will not be enough for that. So I think that, you know, Medicare for all, Medicaid for all, childcare, universal childcare, no means testing, just free and available to everyone. These types of things will allow women to really be free from the demands that are put on them to sacrifice themselves for our economy.
And you bring up a point that I think is so important, which is leisure time. You know, I think in our society, especially in US and American society, it's almost seen as sinful. And I was wondering if you could expound on that and how this is actually important, critical, and an element that should be afforded to all of us. I was wondering if you could expound on that aspect of things a little bit, because it's so rarely named and even discussed in public policy.
Yeah, and I think it's really important in terms of reordering the economy around, endless growth and consumption and extraction, is reducing work time, valuing the time that we have to be in relationship with each other. And so if we can move in that direction, which is already in vogue in other countries to reduce work hours, those things should just be fundamental to us, because, if the economy is not creating well-being, what is the justification for it anyway?
Thank you.
Thank you.
The gentlelady yields back. The gentlewoman from Michigan, Ms. Lawrence, is now recognized. Ms. Lawrence.